Someone Better by I_am_Ellie on AO3. Episode 28. Chapter 22. Tell me what's wrong. Hizashi's surgery seemed to drag on for hours, the anxiety in Shota's chest mounting higher and higher with every second. Hizashi's parents decided to wait in the main room rather than Hizashi's hospital room, but Shota wasn't sure he could have moved from the green plastic chair. Fired. He got fired. He'll have to adjust their spending money for a while until he could get another job. All of their money would have to go to bills. How were they going to get groceries? And Izuku would need another haircut soon. How was he supposed to pay for that? Not to mention the hospital and therapy bills. Their insurance only covered 75% of the bills, and it would surely be expensive. And they would practically be a one-income household from now on. Hizashi couldn't go back to work, not until he went to physical therapy for however long the duration was. And even if he got temporary disability, the money from that wasn't exactly great. There was always the money that had been promised by Shoji, but Shoji had never given a specific number, and Shota had already planned to dedicate all that to pay check to his debt. He could always get another job or work overtime at the agency, but there was a matter of Izuku. He couldn't wait too long, not with Nemuri watching him. She had a life of her own to worry about, and Hizashi currently couldn't watch him. Not yet. He could get a new job, but how long would that take? Did he have enough time? They were already stretching their money pretty thin. They hardly even had any spare money as it was. Now, Shota had remained in Hisashi's hospital room. They had unhooked him from the heart monitor when they had taken him back to the operating room. Now the screen of it was black and dead. There weren't any of the consistent beeps that had been there before. Not even a hospital bed. The IVs were gone. So was the oxygen. The room looked eerily empty now. Something happened, Nemuri noted from the other chair. You looked at your phone and you left the room, and when you came back there was something wrong. What happened? Shota didn't know what to say. He shrugged. Yes, you do, Nemuri insisted. I want to help. Believe me, I do, but I can't do that if you won't tell me what's wrong. Shota felt a bit dazed. I got fired, he said. My boss, from the packing place, fired me. He said I'd missed too much work. But you couldn't help how much work you missed. I know, Shota snapped, and he was too tired to feel guilty about it. I know that. Believe me, I know that. He felt like tearing at his hair in frustration. I needed that job. We were having problems with money, and that job helped, and... How bad is this going to affect you? Nemuri asked. Is this something you could bounce back from? Or is this going to be a major issue? It's already a major issue, Shota said. I don't know what to do. I can help you find work, Nemuri said. Shota looked at her, a little disbelieved. No, really, I'll help you find work. She pulled out her phone, searching through job applications. Okay, there's a fry cook. Wait, no, you'll burn down the establishment. Waiter, no, you shouldn't be on your feet that much. Your leg will kill you. And the pay won't be enough. Office job, that looks pretty good. Nemuri froze, slowly looking over at him. What? Shota asked, a bit worried. Did you find anything? Yes, I did, Nemuri said. She shoved the phone under his nose, the bright screen lighting up his face. But the words came into clear vision soon enough. UA assistant teacher position open. Absolutely not, Shota said. What? Nemuri demanded. This is a good thing, Shota. This could fix everything, and I bet there are other positions open too. Maybe Hizashi and I said no, Shota repeated, more forcefully. The idea of being a teacher made him distinctly uncomfortable. I'd make a bad teacher. I cannot handle children. I'm horrible around them. And I'm nowhere near qualified. I'm a rookie underground hero. I didn't even go to college. Why would Nezu hire me? It was a nice thought, certainly, working at his old high school, the school he had spent some of his best years at. Not to mention, the pay would surely be better than what he had been getting at the boxing place. Nezu was certainly crazy, and more than a little murderous, but he paid his workers well. But Shouta always looked at the facts of the situation before he pursued them. And the facts were, he would make a horrible teacher, and Nezu would never, should never, hire someone like him. Nezu likes you, Shouta, Nemuri said insistently. Are you forgetting that he basically gave you the key to getting into the hero course? That he was the one who recommended you to the agency? That he was the one who suggested you take up the capture weapon? Not to mention, when you didn't make the hero course at first, he basically gave you the path you needed to get it. That doesn't mean he'll give me teaching at his school. Shouta said, there is a school board, as well. No matter what favoritism you think Nezu holds for me, the school board isn't about to let someone my age teach at a highly prestigious school with none of the current qualifications. So, you never went to college, Nemuri said, waving her hands dismissively. But you could be a big help in the hero course students, or just students in general. You're intelligent for starters, and you're so good at teaching Izuku, and if you work with hero course students, you'll be able to do it with experience in that field, the good and the bad. And they'll be more prepared than we were for some side of the hero work. No, Shouta said. Teaching high schoolers is different than teaching a 5-year-old boy words. I can't work with teenagers. I don't like teenagers. They're hormonal, and they have boyfriends and girlfriends for 2 weeks, and then they cry once they break up, like they just went through a divorce. And they say that their significant other holding hands with someone else or something like that is cheating. And then they cheat on exams, and they smell weird. I don't deal with teenagers. Nemuri went quiet for a moment. Well, if any of them smelled weird, you could just throw deodorant at them. Nemuri. Fine. Nemuri said, holding her hands up in surrender. No UA. I'll keep looking. I get it. You're underqualified, and you hate the young people of our generation. Got it. Thank you. He leaned back in his chair, pushing his bangs out of his hair exasperately. He'd have to cut it soon. He froze. How long is the average generation? Nemuri shrugged. I don't know, she said. Probably like 20, 30 years? Think it varies. Why? Were Izuku and I born in the same generation? Nemuri slowly looked up from her phone. That is oddly horrifying, she admitted. Yes, it is. The surgery was complete, and Hizashi was back in the hospital room, a good 3 hours later. Dai and Hana joined them again shortly after the sun was returned, and Shouta let them sit closest to Hizashi, knowing that they had only just found the entire situation, and they were probably more worried than he had been. The room had been scrolled in silence for a while, and while Shouta usually enjoyed the quiet, there was something about the quiet or the dark that always lowered his stress levels. He was distractingly uncomfortable with the tense atmosphere. Nemuri noticed, because she's Nemuri, and started suggesting more jobs. Movie rental place. Salary. Never mind. Janitor. Maybe. Write that down. Nemuri tapped away at her phone. Stripper? I'm not good looking enough to be a stripper. Keep looking. Okay, firstly, I think Hizashi would disagree with you on that. And secondly, that's your primary concern? Shouta shrugged. Keep looking. Nemuri shook her head, scrolling through more jobs, while Dai and Hana looked at them, both looking faintly amused. Okay, how about this? Stalker at a grocery store. Salary, Nemuri. Right. God, why aren't there any filters on this thing? On and on, through the list they went, Nemuri pulling up increasingly more ridiculous options as time went on, and the progress got slightly dull. At one point, Shouta thought He had seen Nemuri raise an eyebrow before saving another application, before hurriedly continuing her scrolling, but he elected to ignore it. Swimming instructor. I can't swim. Really? Yes, Shouta said. No one ever taught me. Okay, but you're a pro hero and you went to UA. You should know how to swim. Shouta shrugged. I know how to not drown, he said. He had tried to learn at UA because it was almost a requirement to know how to swim if he wanted to be a pro hero. And he liked the water, liked floating around. It was quite comfortable, honestly. But not much could be said for his swimming abilities besides horrid. My instructor said that was all they could hope with me. Nemuri snorted. Hizashi, Hana suddenly said from across the room. Nemuri and Shota's head shot up, and Shouta suddenly realized that Nemuri had effectively distracted him from worrying over Hizashi for the past few hours. Who'd have thought? Ma? Hizashi said, and his voice sounded thick and scratchy, like he was drowsy and as shreds at the same. Probably because of the tube they had put in his throat during surgery. Ma? Ma? It's okay, Hizashi. It's okay. Hana said, a hand on her son's cheek. Hizashi was blinking rapidly, looking confused and disoriented. Not to mention, he was more than likely couldn't see without his glasses. Ma. I know, she said, and she sounded tearful now. It's okay, Hizashi, it's okay. You're all right, son, Dai said, scooting forward and grabbing Hisashi's hand. You're okay. Dad? He seemed to get more and more upset after that, face scrunching up in pain and confusion and frustration, and Shouta knew it wouldn't be long before the entire family was crying. I'll get a nurse, Nemuri said, rushing from the room. She didn't seem to realize that there was a button at Hisashi's bedside for calling the nurse. Sho, Hizashi called, and his voice sounded more raspy and a little tearful. Shouta. Shouta. Shouta swallowed thickly, clearing his head before walking forward. He sat on the opposite side of the bed, as Dai and Hana, taking Hisashi's other hand. Hisashi's head turned to the side, looking up at him, something akin to relief on his face. Right here, Shouta said. I'm right here. I'm always right here, okay? I'm here. It's okay. And he knew Hizashi probably couldn't hear him, probably couldn't even read his lips because of his lack of glasses, but it still felt like an important thing to say. I'm right here. It felt like an important thing to say to himself, too. What? Hisashi's hand slipped from his mother's grasp, and he started pawing at his bandages wrapped around his head, forehead wrinkled in confusion, and it made something in Shota's chest ache. It's okay, Shouta said. It's okay. It was not okay. It was nowhere near okay. It's okay. The nurse walked in with Nemuri, checking his pulse and his pressure before trying to gain Hisashi's attention. Mr. Yamada, the nurse called, waving and smiling sweetly. Hi, Mr. Yamada, you with us? Hizashi looked completely lost. I'm your nurse. You just woke up from surgery. Everything is fine. Can you hear me? Hizashi didn't say anything before slowly shrugging. What does that mean? Can you hear some things and not others? Or is it nothing at all? Hizashi frowned, blinked hard before slowly holding up one finger. Thank you, Mr. Yamada. May I speak with one of you outside? Hana stood up before anyone else could, and the nurse took her just outside of Hisashi's door, far enough to give the semblance of privacy, but close enough for Shouta to hear every word they said. I don't think his hearing is completely gone, the nurse said, and Shouta heard Hana let out a strangled sob of relief. However, the nurse said, it is likely he does have some hearing damage, since he had some trouble hearing me, more than likely made worse by the bandages. We won't know for sure what extent to the damage it is. However, until he is completely healed and we run some tests. Hana sniffled. Okay, she said. I was researching in the waiting room, types of hearing loss from things like this, and, it's very, very... I know, it's worrying, the nurse said, and I cannot officially diagnose or recommend treatment, as I am not his doctor or surgeon, but I wouldn't be too worried about the damage being horribly extensive. His hearing isn't gone completely, or anything like that. Oh, thank goodness, Hana said, and Shouta could feel the relief in the woman's voice. When can he see a healer? Well, that depends, the nurse said. He was incredibly responsive today after treatment. It's amazing, honestly, considering he just woke up from anesthesia. It's very likely he'll sleep the rest of the day, though I wouldn't be surprised if I was given orders from the doctor to have him up and walking around by the time the day is over. You know how those doctors can be about getting the patient going. As for the healer, if he gets plenty of rest and becomes more aware, the healer could come as early as tomorrow, or as late as 3 days from now. It depends on your son. Thank you, Anna said. Thank you. This has been a big help. Thank you. It's no issue, the nurse said. I'll be back to check on Mr. Yamada again, within the next hour and a half, or so. Shouta heard the nurse retreating's footsteps down the hallway, before it finally faded away, all into the noise of the bustling movement. Anna walked back into the room a moment later. Hizashi was a lot more drowsy now. Ma, he croaked, and he was lying back against the pillow, looking limp and exhausted, eyelids heavy as he tried to force himself to stay awake. His firm grip on Shota's hand, however, never loosened. I'm right here, Hizashi, Anna said, taking his hand again. I'm right here. It's okay. Hizashi nodded, and his eyes finally fell close, sinking back into the pillows. Shouta watched as he faded into slumber. Hizashi Yamada was healed completely by a healer. That, while not as powerful as expected as Recovery Girl, was the next big thing. On the same day, he was diagnosed with high-frequency hearing loss, and to stay on bed rest for the next few days, with little walks around the apartment in between. The first time Hizashi had tried to stand up and walk around, up from surgery, he had gotten nausea and immediately became well acquainted with the nearest bin. Hizashi hadn't been excited to repeat that little endeavor, because he quite liked his food where it belonged, and Shouta just hated the sound of people being sick. But the walks around the apartment would certainly help. It was hard for Hizashi, Izuku not being there to keep him company, having to become more well acquainted with his new situation. The bouts of extreme dizziness, the nausea, the very real and very scary risk of seizures, and the spinning vertigo that made a migraine flare in his temples. Shouta was running about the place, searching for migraine medicine more often than not. When Hizashi had heard the news about Izuku from Shouta, he had gotten the most horror-stricken look on his face, looking a bit paler and a bit more nauseous. Shouta had thought he was going to try and fight a nurse the first night he had told about him, but she said he couldn't visit him in the PCU because he wasn't family. Hizashi was given an order to go to an ear doctor so he could retested and prescribed hearing aids to help with his condition and help him get back into the field sooner. Shouta knew Hizashi absolutely loathed the idea of them. They were constantly complaints floating around in the house about having to wear them soon. But when Shouta pointed out that he wouldn't be able to hear his Disney movies that he watched with Izuku on the TV anymore, the complaints ceased. One day after Hizashi was released from the hospital, Izuku Midoriya's fever dropped completely, and he was at a normal temperature. They took out the tubes in his abdomen, as well as the catheter, and kept him on a steady line of strong antibiotics for the next few days. He became more and more aware over those next few days, and Izuku was just happy to be awake, even if the pain was bad. 4 days after Hizashi was taken home, Izuku was sent home with orders of a follow-up with the surgeon on Izuku's case in the next month, and a prescription for antibiotics and minor painkillers. He was put on bed rest and took off school for the next week and a half so he could rest and recuperate. Most of the scarring had been healed by the healer following his discharge, but not all, and he was still in a bit of pain and exhausted. Hizashi was a mess trying to figure things out, and constant bouts of frustration and anger, and Izuku was still in pain and exhausted. But they were home, and that was all Shouta could truly ask for, wasn't it? And so, with both his nephew and his boyfriend home, The constant tight thread of anxiety around Shota's heart finally unraveled. Everything was okay for now. And then, a week later, Nemuri submitted an application under the name Shouta Aizawa for a position at UA High School. Alright, we obviously love Aizawa. Literally, okay, I'm sorry. The moment where, Nemuri is like, what about stripper? And Aizawa's like, not attractive enough for that. And Nemuri is just like, that's what you're worried about? Like, that's what's deterring? That's the important part? I love that. I remember when I first read that, I absolutely fucking started crackling. It was like 3 a.m. in the morning. I got very much discovered of the fact that I was fucking awake. And I shouldn't have been awake at 3 a.m. in the morning because I needed to wake up 2 hours. In 2 hours, I needed to wake up because I had to work. I did not sleep that night. And I went to work very tired. Yeah, let's just say boss was not that very happy with me that day. She was not happy. She was like, you didn't sleep, did you? I'm like, nope, How can you tell? And my boss is like, you laughed at that fly landing on the cup. I'm like, it's funny, it landed. And my boss was like, what the no, Jesus Christ. You're lucky I can't send you home. I'm like, how's that me being lucky? I want to go home. I want to go to sleep. I don't know about you. But yeah. Obviously in this fanfic, not in this fanfic, in this chapter, everything's finally righted. Obviously they have the big problem with money. Money problems. Woo woo. I can relate. I can very much relate. Talk about relating. I have my check right here. My $41.12 that were robbed from me. Robbed. I went to go do a job, right? It was a commission pay job, right? And they didn't pay the amount that was needed. And they were like, no, we're paying you too much. I'm like, what the fuck you mean we're paying me too much? Like, dude, you're not gonna get someone who's gonna charge you as little as I am. Other people charge you double of what I'm charging you. Like, calm the fuck down, alright? Calm the fuck down. I already did the job, alright? And not fucking sweat my ass off for you to wipe off $41. You know what $41 can get me? It can get my cat food, alright? That you're stealing my cat's food. That's what you're doing. You have, like, absolute evil hooligan. So, like, I understand the money problem. No. I know a rich person or a person that's well off wouldn't be fighting over $41. I'm fighting over $41. I don't always get $41, right? Like, yes, the paycheck that I got was of $200, but $200 plus $41, that would be $300. You know what I could do with $300? A lot. Other people would be charging you $600 for the job that was done, right? Like, be fucking happy that we didn't price more, right? We're pricing less, right? Because I am new to the job, right? I'm not doing what other people are doing, even though, like, let's be honest, I do it better than others. Protagonist. I understand Aizawa in that, and obviously we saw the end where Nemuri very much, said, yes, teacher assistant, which I now remember what happened, and oh my god, I loved it. This was so amazing. I also love fanfictions where Nezu has, like, an attachment to Aizawa. I love fanfictions like that. I saw one where Nezu was attached to Hizashi, and I very much enjoyed that one. That one was really fun to read, and stuff like that. So, hopefully we see Nezu. I'm not gonna do any predictions because, again, I've read this before. We're gonna get to a point where I'm like, okay, from here on forward, it is completely new to me. We're also getting close to the dangerous area. We're about to finish this area of the series, and then we're about to enter the whole uncompleted. And it has been uncompleted for like a year and a half now. So, not a year and a half. I want to check. Hold up, I'm checking. Open a new tab. I am checking. Last time it was updated was, let's check. When was the last time it got updated? Oh, what the fuck does happen? That, okay. Love that when it exit out of everything that I had on. Okay, last updated 2022. October 7th of 2022. It's about, it's about a year, more than a year, and it's about to get a year and a half, Yeah, I think it's about to be a year and a half. Yeah, and it's gonna be 2 years in October, so yeah. Whoop whoop. We love that. I get that. Sometimes we just don't finish it. The amount of unfinished books I have is immense. Let's just say I once created a fanfiction for a fandom. It was a really, really popular fanfiction. I'm not gonna say the username or where platform it was. I'm not exposing myself. No, I will get death threats. I'm not exposing. I wrote it. It was back then, so like my writing style was also different. So you can't even, or was it different? Or maybe I'm lying to you. Whatever. Point taken is, it was a really big fanfic, and people like really, really loved it. Like it was a community, like one of those fanfictions that like as a community whole, everybody's like, oh yeah, that one fanfiction. You've either read a fanfiction inspired by this fanfic, you've either read the fanfic, or you've heard people talk about the fanfic, or you know someone who's read the fanfic. There is, in one way, shape, form, you are connected to the fanfic, right? I wrote a fanfiction like that. Let's just say it was really interesting. It was really fun. It was really cool. Yeah, it's uncompleted. It's uncompleted, and people aren't very happy. I'm never gonna finish that. I'm sorry, guys. I moved on. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.